Here's the other thing about HMF. It does not cut cleanly at all. This was a razor knife. So if you're using a razor knife, you're gonna wreck it. R-E-K-T wrecked this shit. So all this ripped stuff, this ripped portion, and these open ends here, that is going to be a sponge. The only part that is waterproof, hydrophobic is this surface. So if you do this, you're gonna have to figure out a way to tape it up or treat it, something. This is not good. This is ruined pretty much. All right, we went over absorption. Let me just spend a minute on tape, because first of all, I freaking love tape. You understand? Like, I don't just love tape, I love tape. So there are two types of tape that I use when I'm doing pretty much every door, any install, everywhere, blah blah blah. Some of them you're familiar with. Now, this is the one we all know and love. Nashua is the good shit. Anytime you can get Nashua, don't get the cheap foil tape, people. I'm telling you, it's worth it. Nashua, this is the big wide roll like this, because you can cover more with it. I bought this Noiko in conjunction with the deadener, because you can see right there it says finishing sealing tape. Now, I thought that this was going to be a butyl tape for finishing deadener, but really all they're marketing this is to be able to go over the edges of your deadener so that they don't have any sharp edges or water doesn't creep behind your deadener or anything like that. But it's an acrylic adhesive. I don't trust this. The best tape to use indoors, the absolute best tape in the world, is this. It is called waterproofing tape. I don't have the badge on there, but this is butyl. This is butyl adhesive with a foil cap. This is basically a really tiny roll of deadener. Butyl adhesive. It makes an instant and permanent waterproof seal. So if you want to seal up holes, you want to seal up your deadener, get this. This is waterproofing tape. That's what it's called. It's got a butyl adhesive. If it doesn't look like this, don't get it. It's acrylic like these. I love these tapes, but this is the bomb. This shit will stick to anything, and it's instant and permanent waterproof. Anytime anything's gonna come in contact with moisture, use this tape. Now, this is Duck, D-U-C-K brand, duct tape brand. I usually get the Nashua, but you cannot find waterproofing tape at Lowe's or Home Depot. I usually have to order it online. But it's good to know. I just found this at Walmart. Duck brand, butyl adhesive waterproofing tape. This stuff is good, you know, for whatever all the other stuff that we use it for, but not for moisture. Now, when I drop my own tape line, I'll call this stuff slick, this stuff seal. SPL tape coming soon. Slick and seal. Slick and seal. All right, I brought up that thing about tape because I'm going to use that butyl tape to secure that cut in that I showed you guys that is no longer hydrophobic. And because I'm paranoid and never ever want to go back in these doors again, I'm also retreating with Never Wet. This stuff is hydrophobic treatment. So 4 hours later. I wish you guys could see the timestamps on these videos, because we've been at it for about 5 hours now. Hands tore up, arms tore up. I decided to go with the Thinsulate because I was not feeling the HMF from Second Skin, unfortunately. I gotta give them a fail for this particular product. I love Second Skin in general. Usually a big fan of their products, but let me show you. So this happened when I started trying to pull the adhesive backing off, and I gotta tell you, shit is not cheap. So having to tear it up to get into the adhesive, really a bummer, because it's pretty expensive, about a foot. So scrap this. I treated this Thinsulate for an extra level of protection. I've got a ton stuff up in here above and below the crash bar. Tested window functionality, and we're good. We're good on the absorption. Time to get to deadening this outer. All right, something to keep in mind when you're deadening that outer skin, or inner skin, or outer, whatever you want to call it, this outside part, is these dips, crevices, stuff like this. You go shoving a bunch of deadener behind here, like this, into these irregular places. Some of your plastics and your door panel, they're gonna want to sit back in here like this. So if you put too much deadener in here, you may not be able to get it back, get your door back on, or get your plastics to fit right. And trust me, you do not want to have to take this son of a bitch back apart. So it's a good idea when you're doing this to maybe keep looking at your door panel, see what where stuff goes, how stuff fits into these different undulations and whatnot. Because remember, we still have a layer of closed cell foam and maybe MLV, and then another layer of CCF on top of that. So, I mean, you're talking about a pretty good amount of thickness. And if you deaden the actual door cards, so you're talking about, I mean, you can be up to an inch thick, and an inch is a lot when you're trying to wrestle a door panel back on. So just be careful when you're putting stuff into these crevices. Take a look at your door panel and make sure it's going to work. All right, we're looking pretty good. Got most of the door done. Obviously, this is the easy part. These little pieces like this, I mean, it's all overkill, but I usually just use those from the scrap pieces that I, cut to fit. So, you got a bunch of these little scrap pieces laying around. Might as well put them on there. Ain't nobody ever gonna fuss at you for having too much deadener. I want to come back to this thing here. You can see how I deadened over this area here with the door latch, and because I have that wire loom there and then that channel that Volvo gave me, we're all good. And I keep checking fitment of my plastic here, make sure it goes on. The other thing is, I paid special attention to this area here because this is obviously where the driver goes, and that's what makes all the racket. So I did 2 layers, some maybe triple back here, behind here, but on the outside here, you kind of want to leave this unmolested for now until you get your mounting rings, whatever you got going on over here. Get those on first, and then come back and then deaden around it. That'll save you some time, because you can use the deadener to kind of integrate the adapter into the door, where it's all one piece, and it helps seal around it and all that kind of stuff. So we're looking pretty good here. What I wanted to address was this gigantic hole, and just about every door you're going to run across, and I'm sure you guys have seen this before, is this huge hole here. And like I told you, we want to make this door an enclosure, a dead enclosure. Wow, that sounded pretty good. So there's a lot of ways to cover this hole up. A lot of people they'll get like a piece of cardboard and make a template like that to cover that hole, and then they'll use that cardboard template to cut plexi or sheet metal, maybe even wood, although I don't recommend wood in a door at all, unless you treat it really, really, really well. It's just better ways to do it. So you can do that, make you a template, plexiglass, sheet metal, and then attach it, all the way around, and then you got a hole. But now you have a whole new resonance there. You got to lay deadener over, which is fine. That's fine. It works. It's awesome. It's clean. But I'm lazy, so I'm gonna do it the lazy man's way, and I'll show you guys how I do it in just a minute. All right, back with the lazy man's way of covering gaping holes. So you can see here, if you can see, what I did was I just took a piece of deadener and I cut a piece of deadener about that size to span that gap. Turn it around, and then it's you got to leave a gap, obviously. Leave a gap where you can get your hand in here and smush it on either side, bottom, top, bottom. So this way it seals and it deadens at the same time. And listen to all the haters out there. Use your sheet metal, use whatever you want, that's fine. This is how I'm doing it. I'm telling you, it will be dead. I'm gonna come back over it with MLV, another layer of deadener. I'm gonna close this up, tape. I mean, it's gonna be pretty much bulletproof. This is the quick and dirty. T-Fade is all about quick and dirty. This is quick and dirty. So I'm gonna take another piece and I'm gonna put it on the top, seal it up, and I'm come back over it with tape and MLV. Try to tell y'all I love tape. So this is that waterproofing tape. Came back, I spanned the gap. Now it's watertight, airtight right here. And then we're gonna come back over it with a layer of deadener. One thing to be mindful of, if you use this method, when you're pushing this tape down like this and smoothing everything down, if you push this deadener in and it makes too much of a concave, like a bowl, your window will, I promise, your window will get hung up on it. So just be careful, try to keep it as level as possible. All right, as promised, it's pretty much the finished product. So one layer of deadener on the back, spanning, and I used butyl tape to span the gap between the inside piece and the outside. So then I came back over with 2 layers. It's dead, I promise. So now I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna use some of my butyl tape to seal up and finish some of these seams, and we're gonna move on. All right, let's talk about closed cell foam, CCF. The job of closed cell foam is to put it between 2 things that might rattle. So your door panel and your locks or levers or wiring harnesses, or the door card itself rattling against the thing. So that's all it does, is decouples. So we have 2 closed cell foams here. This one is Sound Deadener Showdown. Some scraps that I have left over, so pretty thin. And I got the Luxury Liner Pro from Second Skin, and you can see this stuff is gangster. And shout out to Second Skin for making something that's actually too thick. I know if I put this, if I cover my whole door in this and do MLV and do a sandwich, my door panel, my door card is never ever going back on. So my options are this, which I don't have enough of, or you can go go to Walmart, get you a yoga mat, cuz 3 mils, they sell it 3 mil, 5 and 6. And as you can see, this is just closed cell foam, people. It's just closed cell foam. Otherwise, your lady booty sweat be getting all up in here and stinking. And it's green. How awesome is that? Green. So this is also going to double as a moisture barrier if you needed it, which you don't, since our doors are tight as a drum. But yeah, I don't have enough of this. This is too thick, so we're going with gotta have it green yoga mat. All right, remember when I told you guys to save your vapor barrier if you could salvage it from your doors when you took it off? I trashed mine getting it off, but this is where you would lay your vapor barrier out on your CCF and get like basically a perfect template to cut to apply to the door. I trashed it. So I'm using my door panel to give me a rough idea, and then I can trim it in a minute. The only drawback to using yoga mats here are they only come in, well, Walmart only sells them in 24 inches wide. So that may not cover everyone's door panels. Rough outline here. Make sure you get where your speaker goes and your door handle goes and your armrest. That way you have a reference when you cut this out and get on. Alright, so we got our CCF cutout / yoga mat. Just want to talk to y'all about glue, how to get it up there. A lot of people use Velcro. They'll just put Velcro attach points all the way around and get it on there. That way you can get it on and off easy, but like I said, we are doing these so we don't ever have to get back into them. Hopefully the rattles that we will have to track down will be between the card and the outer skin here, and not inside, because that would be a pain in the nuts. So spray glue. I know not everybody has an air compressor and glue sprayer chinga thing at the house, so I don't care what kind you use. I found that this stuff here is awesome. It's the Loctite 300, but the thing that I love is that it sprays like one of those compressor things. See how it sprays in a line, and it's not an aerosol. Don't get the aerosol, that shit's garbage. All right, people, it's done. That's a wrap, pretty much. This summit is tight as a drum, button up, CCF. Because I had to use the door panel card, as a template, I will have to come back and trim some of this. This is going to be too far. It's going to be too long, because as you can see, the clips are behind here. If you can get it back on with that in between, that's fantastic. It's awesome. But generally, you're going to want to, get that out of here. You can see this is too long down here. The clip under there. So all I really have to do is come back and trim, but man, this thing's ready to rock and roll. And here, T-Fade, I pray to the Lord of all rattles to not curse me with any resonance or rattles. All right, we're out here and it's about 197 degrees. We are doing the door card. Didn't cover this in the previous video, but you're gonna want to put deadener on here. And this is kind of where I said I could use the Noiko or the cheaper stuff in conjunction, because even though this stuff does vibrate, not sure how effective the really good stuff is on absorbing vibration on plastics and things like that. So if you have to cheap out, you can cheap out on using the cheap stuff on your door card, just to add some mass, so it's a little heavier. But let me warn you guys, when y'all are doing this, to be careful how much you're laying down, because like I covered earlier, these irregularities in the door and stuff, they mold, they fit pretty good, and there's not a whole lot of room between the door card and the door panel. So if you put too much deadener, you may have to wrestle the door card back on. Just be careful where you're doing this. This little insert here, 100-year-old glue, I actually had to goop that back down and then use deadener as tape to kind of hold it in. This foam here, I'll probably lose that and deaden underneath this. I'll lose this. Oh god, that's a mess. I'll lose all this, I'll deaden underneath it, and then I'll come back over with Luxury Liner Pro. Good gracious. Ugh. All right, it's looking pretty good. I think we're about done with this door card. We got deadener laid, one layer. We got Luxury Liner Pro in place of the old decrepit shit, and deadener underneath there. Looking pretty good. We'll go with this for now, and we'll get it back on the car. When we get it playing, we'll hunt up some rattles, and maybe we can come back and go with some more Luxury Liner or some more deadener. But for now, this is in good shape. Well, other than the speaker, old girl buttoned up. Just got to do is put the driver in there. Let's get that satisfaction. Oh. All right, we are working on the driver door. We're almost ready to put it back together, just cover the holes and whatnot. Two things I wanted to cover that I didn't cover on the passenger door. First, and hopefully you see this before you get started, start on your passenger door, because it's kind of a pessimistic outlook, but you're gonna learn some things while doing the passenger door that you'll figure out along the way, especially if you've never done this. So start on the passenger door. You'll figure some shit out on the passenger door before you get to the driver door. And the reason I say that is it'll be easier and more effective when you get to the driver's door, because that's the one closer to you. And any rattles or resonance that you hear is going to be more obvious coming from the driver's door. Besides, the driver's door takes so much more abuse because you're usually the only ass in the car and you're getting in and out and in and out and in and out. So the driver's door takes a whole lot more abuse than the passenger door normally. And second, so hopefully y'all see that before y'all get started. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to cover was, I didn't cover this on the passenger door, but I said that I use cheaper stuff in conjunction with the good shit. And if you have to cheap out, I got enough good deadener to do everything, and that's what I usually do. But if you can't buy 2 boxes of good shit, so you have to buy one of proper CLD like this B2 Sound Deadener Showdown Second Skin. If you can't spring for 2 boxes, and you have to get Noiko or whatever the crap, don't use Peel and Seal. But if you have to use Noiko or something along those lines, you can use the cheaper stuff to cover these holes. Because if you use my method, now if you use plexi or sheet metal, the way I talked about earlier, if you use that, then you're gonna want to put good stuff over those pieces, because we still need the absorption properties, so the good stuff. But if you do my method, you can just make these as heavy as possible. So you can use the cheap stuff here if you have to. If you use my method, if you use sheet metal, then you use the good stuff. All right, passenger door first. You can cheap out on covering holes. All right. All right, let's talk about some secondary materials that I always use when I'm doing doors. The first thing is weather stripping. This stuff is awesome. It's self-adhesive. You get this at Home Depot or Lowe's. It comes in lots of different thicknesses, lots of different widths. You can use this for anything, like tear off a piece, stick it between 2 things that are rattling. You can get the thinner or the thinner stuff and use it to go around speakers, your speaker rings to decouple. Just there's a ton of uses for this stuff. Pick up a roll or 2 when you're about to do your doors. I promise you'll likely wind up finding a use for it. This is also super duper handy. This stuff here, I got it from Parts Express. Oh, by the way, this stuff is in the window trim or door and window section of your hardware store. This stuff here, I love this stuff. I use it everywhere. It's something from Parts Express. It's also self-adhesive. It's super thin, and I'll use this to go around speakers, to decouple them. It's super easy. You just peel and stick, and then just go around, and it makes a perfect little ring. I'll also take it and I'll wrap it like this around, obviously with the CCF side out. I'll wrap it around wire looms and stuff, or speaker wires to tie them up so they don't rattle. This stuff, I'm telling you, get y'all some of that before you do doors. This here, well, let's talk about Sound Deadener Showdown. This is butyl rope. It comes in this roll, and this is basically just like deadener without the foil. So you can use this to go around the speaker tube like this, and this makes it super. It'll stick there, it'll do anything you want it to, but just a warning, this stuff will make a mess when you go smushing it and getting it in your door, wherever you're putting it. It will make a mess. It's super sticky. Obviously, it's like deadener. Sound Deadener Showdown. Shout out to those guys. They send you some wax paper, so when you're doing it, you can kind of push it in like that, and you don't get your fingers all sticky. Get some of this when you guys are ordering. Also, if you can't order, you can get this mastic tape. It's the same type of deal. It's also butyl, but it's thinner. It's not like a rope. It's more like a tape. You just unroll this and you can put it around speakers. You can use it to stick stuff up or tie stuff down, like wire looms that are rattling or sticking just between two things, something like that. It also comes in smaller rolls. 3M makes a tape. It's wider though. It's like, you know, it's this wide. I usually have to cut it in half to do anything with it. You can also use this butyl root to secure your CCF if you're doing that. See how it sticks really well. It's also, you know, waterproof. It's not going to come get wet. But yeah. Anyway, some secondary materials that you guys might want to pick up: butyl rope, foam insulation, CCF, by the way, mastic tape, get some of this stuff from Parts Express. Alright, speaker rings or door rings or speaker spacers, whatever you want to call them. I'd like to reuse the OEM as much as possible. It doesn't usually work out real well, and sometimes you got to beat it up too much to salvage it, but just so happens that these are an odd size, and the drivers that I bought happen to fit pretty close. So what I did was I just cut out the down speaker here. You can see it's just held in by 4 spokes, and then I air sawed those out. That way I can keep the factory rain shield, I can keep the factory mounting locations, shit like that. I just basically hollowed it out, just tore it up, and then looks like might be able to just drop old girl right in there. And it just so happens that the holes line up because, like I said, it's an odd size. So yeah, I think we're gonna be able to reuse these. If you can, it's always a good idea. Otherwise, you have to fab something up out of wood, HDPE, something like that. Preferably something that's not going to absorb moisture. But yeah, I think these might work out. Dishes are done, man.